Hi, let's take a look at the configuration of content security filtering technologies on the firewall. If you look at the configuration flow, it's fairly simple. First, we configure the basic parameters, that is, we configure the security policy on the firewall. Then we configure the security filtering rules or file configuration, or we can say that we're configuring the content security filtering profile or configuration file. And then we link these two, or we attach these profiles or these configuration files to the security policy. This means that all the traffic that passes through the security policy or that is identified by the security policy is going to be checked against this configuration file or this content security profiles. If we look at the basic or the global configuration, if we look at object, and the object we go to the file blocking, the first content security filtering technology that we looked at, that is file blocking. If we go to object, we look at security profiles, because we'll be configuring profiles here, and we select file blocking. We have file blocking profile and we have the global configuration. As we discussed earlier in an earlier video, we can configure the global parameters for file blocking. So what we want to do if the file is mangled or the file is malformed, it is incomplete or it's defective, what do we want to do that? What if the file name and the file type are mismatched? What if you cannot determine the file type and we do not have an extension? What do we want to do in that case? By default, everything is allowed, but we can either generate an alert or block the traffic, block those files. How many maximum layers of decompression do we want to allow? And what action do we want to take if this threshold is exceeded? Similarly, what is the maximum size of the file that we want to decompress? And what if the size exceeds the specified threshold, that is 100 MB here, for example? What action do we want to take? So these are some of the global configurations, or these are the global configurations which we want to set for these situations when files meeting these criteria are received by the firewall. Once this is done, then we go to the file blocking profile and do the configuration here and generate a configuration file or what we call the file blocking profile, which can be referenced by the security policy. So this is what we do. We go to object and we go to file blocking and the file blocking profile, and we add a new file blocking profile. We add a new profile. This is new file blocking profile, and in this new file blocking profile we configure rules, and we can configure a new rule. We add a rule, and this is new file blocking rule. So in the file blocking configuration, we go to the file blocking profile. In the profile we add a new profile, and in the new profile we add a new rule. In the rule we give the rule a name. We identify the traffic, we identify the file type, we identify the file extension. We can give multiple extensions, and we give the direction, which could be either upload or download or both, and then we define the action, that what action we want to take if our traffic meets these criteria or these identifications. What action do we want to take with that traffic? So here is the configuration for data filtering. The previous slide showed us the configuration for file blocking. Here we are going to look at data filtering, and if you remember, in data filtering we have to define the keywords. So before we actually configure the data filtering here, we have to define the keywords or the keyword groups. In the keyword group we are going to define the keyword. So we go to keyword group, we define the object, or we create the keyword group object. In keyword group we create a new, or we add a new keyword group. In the keyword group we have to define the list, the keyword lists. So we add a new list, and in this list we give it a name and we match the text here. Whatever text we want to give, we give the text here, or we can give a text using a regular expression. and then we define the weight. If you want to do data filtering based on the weights, we can define the weight for each keyword list here. So for example, these are the predefined keyword lists: bank card number, credit card number match, social security or ID card number match. These are the different lists that are already present, and we can also define the user defined lists in this new keyword group. Once this is done, this means that we have defined the keyword group, and that keyword group will now be available when we'll be doing the data filtering configuration here. So let's go ahead and do the data filtering configuration. So we go to object, we go to data filtering, and in the data filtering profile we are trying to add a new profile, so we click add here and we create a new profile, and in the new profile we are creating or defining new rules. We add a new rule. So here we give the name of the rule, and this is the keyword group which we are going to select, which we created in the last step, and we are going to refer that keyword group here. And then we can always identify the application that we want to check, the file type that we want to check for this rule, and then the direction, either upload or download or both, and finally the action, whether we want to generate an alert or block the traffic. And if we want to generate an alert or block the traffic based on weights, we can select by threshold, which means that a single occurrence will not generate an alert or block, but if the combined or the cumulative threshold exceeds a certain value, then the alert or block action is going to be taken. Then we can do the configuration of, or we can do the file or email filtering configuration. In email filtering configuration, once again we go to the object option at the top. We go to the mail filtering option here under security profiles, and then we have two options. Either we can select based on the whitelist or blacklist, we can control the spam, or we can control based on the contents of the email. If you look at anti-spam configuration here on this tab, we have to enable the anti-spam function. We give the primary and secondary DNS server for RBL filtering, but we'll look at that in the next slide. So we do enable the anti-spam function. We define the IP addresses here in the whitelist, that these IP addresses are safe and traffic coming from these mail servers should be allowed. We can also define a local blacklist, and no matter, we can give multiple IP addresses here, and we do the apply here. Right. So we do an apply here, and we can apply this configuration to all the mail that is coming in. In the next video, we are going to look at the RBL filtering, and we'll look at how we can configure the RBL filtering profile, and finally the application behavior control.